Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Richie, and I'm the Chief. And tonight we're just going to share a little bit about ourselves. As for me, I'm just a sinner, big sinner, saved by the grace of God. And now I got a wonderful life, wonderful wife, grandchildren, kids, all that kind of good stuff like that. But we're going to talk about every topic under the sun. We'll do this on a weekly basis. Who knows? Maybe daily. Who knows? Here's my friend, Dr. Richie.
I'm very painfully shy, so I'm going to stretch to try to, reach out. But hey, I'm really excited that we're doing this. We've been talking about it for a while. And, my name's Dr. Richie. I've known Chief for probably 30 years, and we've been getting together on a frequent basis the last 5 years, and we opened up a rehab together. And so ever since then, he had a great impact on me, bringing me to the Lord. He said he's a big sinner. I was a medium sinner, probably. It's all relative, but they said I was a very polite atheist, and now I don't know if I'm a impolite believer, but hey, here I am, and it's good to be here.
Dr. Richie, one of the things that I was most concerned about on doing this little, TV set, movie set, podcast, they call it all kinds of different things, but one of the reasons I wanted to do is because I just wanted to share my views on life. I've been hanging on planet Earth for 70 years now, and I thank God for each and every day. I've went through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and so I've learned a few things down the way of life on this journey, and I want to share them with people. I like to give unsolicited advice. Maybe you weren't looking for this advice, but you're going to get it anyway if you stay tuned into this. Yeah. And Dr. Richie, you and I met back almost 30 years ago at a place called Venice Beach.
That's right.
And it might sound kind of funny to some people, but I remember the first time I looked at you, there was a little bromance started there, a little friendship started there, a little love affair in a straight way, where I go, man, this is cool. This cat looks real cool, and I'd like to get to know him. And little did I know that, God put us together on planet Earth for a reason. And I believe that reason is so we could get blessed with wisdom and knowledge from God, but we could live a life a little different. Take it back. A lot different than most people, because I've went through my midlife crisis. I've went through my young and dumb days. I've went through all that, but still, I am telling you, I could, at a drop of a hat, I could still go mess up by making the wrong choice. So I believe a wise man learns from his mistakes, but a wiser one learns from the mistakes of others. And so I want to share the wealth, the wisdom, the guidance that God has given to me with as many people as I can while I'm here on planet Earth, especially as I get a little older and I can see the finish line. I can taste heaven, man. I can taste eternity, all that kind of stuff. But while I'm here, I want to be able to influence others. I want to talk to them about money. I want to talk to them about sex. I want to talk to them about drugs. I want to talk to them about rock and roll. I want to talk to them about kids and grandkids and all these things like that. But I want to do it in a way, I've heard every speaker, preacher, teacher, professor. Sorry about that, but, I'm not buying most of their program. I'm just not buying that. I listen to a lot of people thinking making money is going to be the way, or thinking getting super healthy is going to be the way. But there's a health and a wealth that I believe that comes from within, that we've got to learn how to tap into that, how to dig into that. And I believe that I am the best that I've ever been in my life. And I don't say that in a proud way, because I know there's two kinds of people in this world. Those that are humble and those that are on their way to get humbled. Exactly. Right. A.K. Ronda Rousey. I'll come there and I'll beat that, boom, I'm knocked out. And, I've went from champ to chump all in the same hour sometimes. So I understand. So I've learned so much. So I just hope that our viewing audience will be able to pick up on some things and learn something, from two old cats over here, been down the road of life, and got beat down here and there. But, we've been knocked down, but we've never been knocked out. We're back up again. We're motivated. We're pushing forward. And I'm pushing forward in my financial world, pushing forward in my social world, pushing forward in my physical world. I'm pushing forward in learning things. I'm like Kevin Hart. I like how he says it. I'm going to learn today, brother. We're going to learn today. And so I believe you can learn today. I can learn today. You can learn today. We can all learn today. So Tell us a little bit about what your life's all about, Dr. Richie.
Well, just to piggyback on some of the things you said, we need to remain humble. We need to remain teachable. And one of the reasons I've been wanting to do this for a while, you've spent 40 years, I've spent 30 years in the trenches doing this. And, there's been the masses that have heard you back in the days and stuff like that on TBN. And I've had my little glimmer here, but it's like such a shame when it's not being able to get out to more people. And I've listened to you a lot of times, and every time I hear you speak, even if I know what you're going to say, it's good stuff and I need to hear it. And sometimes with the people that we work with, they'll be like, well, I've been to that group or I've heard that, and that mentality that I got all I need to get. But we know that it's never enough. It's an ongoing thing, man. And like you said, tomorrow's not promised. So a 10-year-old could not have another day, but we're getting closer to the finish line. And I wanted to do this. One of the reasons, every time I know someone's going to be in one of your groups or in treatment with you, I'm like, listen to that dude, because it's a priceless education. I spent $126,000 just for my second master's and doctorate, and the money would have been way better spent, paying you to learn what I'm learning, because my PhD, where it ends, the Bible begins, and I've just learned that these last few years, and I credit a lot of it to you, and I'm grateful for that. And it's just been a blessing. You talked about Venice Beach when we first met. There was that thing of a mutual respect. I saw you were a cool looking dude. You were very respectful, in good shape. You had a big crowd. You've always been a leader. I'm more of like a number two guy. That's one reason we worked good together, because it was like the 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
You're a real leader. I'm more of, I can back it up. I'm kind of more laissez-faire, like, hey, run your own program. But people that need to be led don't run their own program well. So it doesn't really work as well. So if I'm with somebody like you, that just gives you more ability to lead, and it has a backup saying, backing up what you're saying. So I'm glad we're doing this, and it's been a long time coming, man.
Yeah, well, what I like about it is when people meet us, Dr. Richie and the Chief, I've got my PhD in theology. You have yours in psychology. But the cool part of it is the good book says that man looks on the outward. So people are looking at us right now going, who are these two guys? Man looks on the outward, but God looks on the heart. And I know you have a heart of gold. I believe God's given me a heart of gold. And we do what we do, not for the money. That's just a byproduct. But we do it because we care. We care about people. I see you helping people, writing letters to the courts, this and that, going out of your way, making time to even do this. Both of us are slammed. We got a busy life. Everybody's got that same story. But one of the things I believe that people can learn from us, like I said, is what we think's really important in life and how to get what we really think is important in life. Because a lot of people, everybody, it's like Rockefeller, the billionaire. And he was asked one time, how much more money do you need, Rockefeller? And he says, $1 more than I got.
Yep.
And what I learned from the good book is the eyes of men and women, young people, the eyes of men and women are never satisfied or full. It's never enough. Yeah. Today I was looking at a brand new car at the mall over there, because I like to go over there and I check it out, a Tesla. Cool car, $120,000, cool, everything like that. So looking at it, seeing all the cool gadgets, all that stuff, man, just walking out of there, I already felt full, because see, I can vicariously just enjoy all that stuff. But the problem with those cars are, I need a 12-seater because I'm carrying residents with me, clients, grandkids, and that's what my life's all about. People, when we're singular, it's just all about us. But when we get that plurality, caring about others, because I found that out in life, like it says, we really start living when we can love others more than ourselves. Because when we just focus on ourselves, we get what's called selfish.
Yes.
But when our life is so full and our cup is overflowing, we just look for people to bless every day. Have you found that out in life?
Yeah, bro. And that's one thing I've admired about you, because there's a lot of people that'll, talk about being Christ-like, but there's very few people who are taking people in their pad. Mm-hmm. And for 40 years, you had all sorts of, carp or derelicts or pigeons or just people, and all people are of great value, but people that were not refined living in your house and feeling like, you're taking care of them and they're having to contribute. And sometimes they're resentful for that, but, you've really been one to take people in and to do it. So I've been, I think, a lot more selfish. We've both been selfish in our ways, and that's something that the flesh is always going to make us want to do what we want to do. But then, like you said, the Lord, the money's the byproduct, and it's nice to have money. We've both been poor and we've both done all right. And, money doesn't make you happy, but having zero money will bum you out.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? You want to have those at least 2 tacos and just to get through. And then we have families that we got to take care of, and part of our self-esteem as men. But it's just radical how all this outside stuff is never going to fill us up. And we've tried to at different points of our life, but we always end up feeling empty because that space that's within isn't meant to be filled up with outside stuff. It's meant to be filled up with God, with Christ, Jesus. And I was an atheist for a lot of my life, that. And about 25 plus years ago started the journey that was a 25-year journey. And you helped me dramatically finally come to that place where I could accept the knock on the door of my heart by Christ, and it was a great thing. And it's not like everything was perfect then. Some things got delivered, other things became, more of a hassle. But it's just been a great experience, bro. Being able to spend time with you and to learn from you. And I agree with you. I think this point, I was thinking about that like today or yesterday, how you seem to be more at peace now than I think you've ever been. And it's so cool because you've learned from your mistakes and you've made some big ones, but you've also done so many great things. That to me is what's valuable. And, there's a huge mansion that's being built for you upstairs. And, every different preacher is part of the body of Christ leading a group, and everyone is needed. And what you've done, I think, is very significant because you're getting people that are not quite believers to believe, and getting them saved. And the angels are rejoicing when that happens. And from that point forward, they could then get fed and get, meat and stuff like that. But you play a very significant role in general, and you've played a huge role in my life, bro. And I'm grateful for that.
Well, that's cool. Well, one of the things that people are going to learn that tune in regularly to our little program here is we're going to learn that we're going to teach. We're going to do a little bit of teaching, not too much preaching. We're not religious. We just love God. We know we're made in the image of God, and God doesn't make any junk. And there's greatness inside each and every one of us. And so I get mentored by friends of mine. I have a guy, Tim Story, that mentors me. I have different people that speak into my life. So I'm always receiving because I stay hungry for learning. And then I'm always giving because I've got more than enough. Well, we're going to teach some people the things that we've learned in this world about life. It's going to be learning a new mindset.
Yes.
Because, I teach people to have sunshine on a what?
Rainy day, baby.
On a rainy day, on a cloudy day, doesn't matter.
Yep.
I learned, help teach people to learn to be content no matter what situation they're in, no matter what problems they're going through. And, I try to teach people. I teach people about marriage. I got 40 years married. 40 years married. I'm telling you. And then I told my wife the other day, I says, honey, you've been on a roller coaster ride with me. And my wife told me, and sometimes I felt like throwing up.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
sure. But she hung in there, bro.
She hung in there. So I'm going to teach about marriage a little bit. I'm going to teach about raising kids. I got 5 kids, grown kids, all doing wonderful. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few weeks to follow. I'm going to talk about grandkids. I got 23 grandkids. Hello, 23. The Bible says, be fruitful and multiply. I've obeyed that commandment of God, So we're going to be talking about that. And then we're going to be talking about this opiate epidemic. We're going to be talking about kids overdosing. And then you hear, Nancy Reagan and these people just saying no. President Bill Clinton wanting to lock people up. Now we hear President Trump just say, you got to stop it before you get older. You got all these things. But we got some ideals on this opiate epidemic, about building a wall at the border, about drugs coming from everywhere. I'm sure you're aware of these statistics, but here in America, United States of America, we're 5% of the population of the world, but over 80% of the drugs are consumed by us in the good old USA.
And we have 25% of the world prison population, and so the war on drugs has been really a criminalization of people who are sick with addiction. Sometimes they're doing additional crimes, but sometimes it's just the drugs. They're not necessarily a danger to society, but the prison industry is a money-making industry. So instead of having people do, community service and other things they could do to pay for their mistakes, we have fathers being ripped from their kids. And a lot of the ways that our society deals with situations do not seem like the most pragmatic and don't seem to implement common sense. So hopefully we'll address some of those things, and somebody up there who's in a position of power can hear it and say, well, that makes sense. Let's implement some simple and common sense changes so we can have things working better. You know, there's so many ways that they deal with things that are knee-jerk or based on emotion, or people get in a circle and say, yeah, let's do that. But then when the legislation is being unfolded, it's not feasible, it's economically insane, and then more problems are created. So we really got to think before we just make a decision and throw the gavel down, you know, and hopefully this is going to be some food for thought for anybody who's willing to listen, you know.
Check this out. We've listened to Dr. Drew, Dr. Phil on TV, but hey, I'm the real Dr. Phil. And believe me, this guy knows more than Dr. Drew. The cool part of it is 40 years, 30 years, 70 years of experience of working with addicts 7 days a week, you know, 24/7, yeah. Running detox programs, treatment programs, psychology, of course, relapse prevention. I mean, we're going to cover all that. I'm telling you, the wealth of wisdom that's going to come out of this program, not because we're anything special, but this is what we do. This is how we roll. This has been our life. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've had over 100,000 people come through the Set Free worldwide program. You know, you've been working with every kind of offender, people coming out of prison, people in prison. So, I mean, we're skilled in this stuff. We're specialists on this subject just because this seems to be the journey, the path, the lane that God has us in.
Yeah, and it's powerful because it's not like we just read a bunch of books. I mean, we've both had needles in our arms. We've both struggled with addiction. And one thing, a powerful thing that impacted me, it was about 2001. It was right around the terrorist attacks, and right beforehand, a very good friend of mine, the son of Barbara Eden, Matthew and Sarah, he OD'd and died on heroin. And already by that time, I hadn't used heroin in a long time, but the first thought was to shoot heroin. And this is another buddy. We used to work out at Muscle Beach back since '85, and he was a good dude, a big-hearted dude. That's one thing that I think people don't realize about heroin addicts. They're not bad people. They sometimes have the biggest hearts, and they feel so much, they just want to get a break from the intensity of that feeling. And I've had a number of friends OD and die, and I was working with sex offenders at the time that he OD died, and I'm like, you know what, I've got to get back to working with addicts. So just by a series of God shots, became the house therapist at Walden House, which was a treatment facility for parolees. So it was, behavioral modification and dealing with criminality, but also dealing with addiction. And it was important for me to give back because my life was spared. When he OD'd and died, I had a baby girl, Angel, who's now 17. I had a baby boy on the way, little Richie, who's now 16. And I wanted to be here for those kids. And I've been fortunate. So after that first thought of, I want to slam, which is insane, but that's what addicts do. My second thought was, I'm never going to put another needle in my arm because I didn't want to risk not being there for my kids, So It's radical how tragic things happening oftentimes bring some of the greatest things that come around. It's so paradoxical, this upside down world we're living in. God, his ways are higher than ours, and everything's just the opposite. So a lot of times people are like, well, why is God this? Why is this? It's all explainable. It's all in the good book, the bullshit sifter, the Holy Bible, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes the details aren't there for us, but it doesn't need to be because he's got it all worked out. We need to trust the process, be anxious for nothing. Yeah, we're slammed, but we just need to kick back. He tells us be anxious for nothing like 365 times, nor be dismayed nor discouraged. So we know that it's a common human thing to worry, but we also know that it's an unnecessary thing. I don't think we're going to get to be, 80, 90 years old or whatever age we get to, look back and say, man, I wish I would have stressed out more. I wish I would have worried.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're just going to try to help people realize, let me just live life, stay in the moment, do the best I can, and realize we do falter. We've both made huge mistakes in our life, but like you said, we might have fallen down, but we got back up. Like you've taught me so many things. A setback's a setup for a comeback.
That's right.
And so we got to reinvent ourselves more and more often, bro. And so I'm just really excited that we're going to have the chance to do this.
Well, the cool part of it is, and those of you that are tuning in right now, this is what I like about this. I'm going to be able to, and Dr. Richie is going to be able to share with you about our lives. I always tell people I'm just another rat who's going to tell you where the cheese is at. I'm another sinner that was saved by the grace of God. You know, I've done nothing good in my life. It's what He's done for me and Dr. Richie here. Well, we're here, and we're going to become vulnerable for you. I'm gonna take you into my life as a young kid, where I was watching Father Knows Best. You know, Leave It to Beaver and all those sweet little shows. You know, Mom, Dad, 2 kids, white picket fence. And then watching in my family, my dad grabbed my mom by the hair and slammed her against the wall. Domestic violence coming into my life. Didn't know how to deal with it. Looking for somebody to blame. My dad was the hero, so I blame my mom. I blame God. So I'm going to be able to help out parents, young kids. I was that young kid. I was a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. I understand what it's like. You know, I would have had a mohawk back in the days, purple hair, this all. I understand young people, so we're going to be able to give some mom, dads, grandparents, cousins, aunts, nephews some good advice about kids. And then going through those teenage years, you know what we respect, that's what we attract. So you're going to be able to get some good information here on this show from the doctors here about how to deal with your teenagers or young teenagers, to be able to listen up, man. All these new music coming out, you know, All My Friends Are Dead, you know, Jumped Out of the Window, you know, Controller, She Don't Want to Be Saved, you know. So all the music, how it affects all young people, I get it. I love young people. That's where we're at. We got a young spirit inside of us. For sure. And then we're going to be able to take you, because we've been locked up before, man. I know what it's like to go to prison, like I said. I know what it's like to have to deal with that, the fears, the scariness of that whole situation, not being accepted, having a tail on you, having a bad jacket, all this kind of stuff. And then we're going to be able to take the cool part of it, is we're going to take you to a happy ending, a good ending, you know, some good news about how our lives got turned around. They're not perfect, but they're better, and they keep getting a little bit better. Yeah. So we're going to be able to take you on that little trip with us and show all that stuff, but we're going to be real with you. You know, we're going to be real with you. We're going to talk about the heartaches and the heartbreaks, all those things part of our life. So these are just 2 cats, 2 little crazy dogs here, 2 of us, and the little puppy dog, of course. You know,
my granddaughter Lily.
Yeah, she's beautiful. Looks kind of like her granddad, a little bit like that. They always say dogs do look like their owners.
Totally. But what's radical, bro? Some of the things you say, you know, like you've been married 40 years, and I know it's been a rough ride for you, and you're beautiful, just such a dignified, classy woman, and you guys are a perfect couple. And man, I look at you guys, and it's ironic, because I'm a licensed marriage family therapist since 1995. But I've been a failure at marriage and relationships. And so sometimes these titles that we have down here, they don't really match the reality of it. And you've been a successful person in marriage, even though there's no such thing as a perfect marriage. There's no such thing as a perfect relationship. Your advice is the same advice as my father, which is stay single, don't have kids. But we do what we're going to do, and we learn from it. So it's just so radical, man, how you know, the advice that we're given, usually we don't take. We're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to have to learn the hard way. But the thing is, some of our successes have helped us along the way, but it's our mistakes, man, that have just left the most poignant messages and been helpful. So it's radical, and that's why we're not going to condemn anybody. We're not trying to tell you be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. Maybe you can learn from our mistakes and some of the things that we say, and maybe you're going to have to bump your head. Hopefully it won't be the thing where you die and you're out of the game. With Chief and I, you know, as long as someone's alive, we know there's another chance. So we don't get all uptight if someone relapses and bumps their head, and we don't shame them. Hey, I'm just glad you're alive. You can give it another shot. It's not how you start the race, it's how you finish it. So it's just a tough game out there. It's got to be tough for kids. I think it gets harder and harder. You know, the bullying when I was a kid is a lot different than it is now, where you've got social media and just people talking shit on just the major levels. And there's something called the 18-40-60 rule. The psychiatrist named Daniel Amen, and he was known for he was in the Orange County area, brain scans, and did a lot of stuff. I think he passed away about a year ago, but he had this thing called the 18-40-60 rule, and it was like when we're young, around the age of 18, we're really concerned with what other people think, and we're self-conscious, and that can influence the way we conduct ourselves, that peer pressure, and you want to be cool and smoke cigarettes, and you do certain things that are not good for you. But then when you get to be around the 40 age bracket, you're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to trip on what people think, I'm just going to do my thing. But you get to around 60 and you realize no one gives a fuck anyway, they're living their life, so why were we tripping? And getting to 40 and 60 and realizing that is one thing, but if we can let some of these youngsters know that at 18 or 24, which seems to be the age, you don't have to be tripping on what other people think. You can just be real to who you are and don't worry about acceptance, because when you're authentic, that's when you're going to be accepted. And when you try to fake the funk and be something you're not going to be accepted, because that's not who God made you to be, you know. So hopefully we're going to encourage authenticity too, because we're just going to keep it real on who we are. I'm going to cuss, and there's no I don't want to offend anybody. There's no hate in my heart. That's punctuation. That's how I speak. Chief has been able to cut it down a little bit more than me, but some might pop out here and there. So, you know, the whole doctor and pastor thing, kind of let that go. We're just two dudes. And please listen to every word this man says, because I'm telling you, it's a priceless education.
Well, we're going to have some special guests that we're going to be having come on. I'm going to ask my partner, Fieldy from the Corn Band, come on here. And then there's another guy, Bud Gaw. I'm going to invite Bud to come on my program. Like I said, I brought him back into our program. Back in about 1990, he was the original drummer of the band called Sublime. And so he was with me for a couple of years. I'm going to have my boy Sindog from Cypress Hill. I'm going to invite him to come on here. And there's a lot of musicians, people we worked with over the years. But we're going to talk about Trump, too. We're going to talk about our president, Donald Trump, our little views on all that kind of stuff, because that's big time. I think we'll talk about Kim Kardashian. Talk a little bit about Kim Kardashian. We'll talk about Kanye West. We'll talk about all the topics of today, you know, all the different types of music, Taylor Swift, you know, we're gonna be involved in everything. So make sure that you tune in on a regular basis to Dr. Richie and the Chief, or the Chief and Dr. Richie, any way you want to go about it. And we're going to be asking people to email in questions, thoughts, write us letters, however, snail mail, email, it don't matter, text us. We'll give you our personal phone numbers. At least I'll get mine out.
Yeah, me too. And that's one thing we've done where we're different. And, you know, we're going to let this evolve and be whatever it can be. So you, as the viewing audience, can have a say in this. If you have ideas or things you want us to do, as long as it's within the realm of legality and not going to get us killed, you know, we'll consider it. And so this can be a show that you want it to be, because you can have a voice in it. And we're just down for whatever. We just want to have, you know, there's all this fake news out there. This is real news. And we might not know all the facts, but we're going to kind of call it as we see it, you know?
Yeah, because we're dealing with people with ADD, OCHD, DVD, STD, you name it. We're dealing with people like that every single day. You know, we deal in the real world, you know, forget all that, pretending. We're taking you behind the curtain. We're pulling down all this stuff, like I says. And so any questions, thoughts, topics, we're not afraid to talk about anything. I mean,
that's right.
We meet people every day. Every day we deal with real people, rich, poor, you know, every color. None of that stuff matters. This is going to be the real deal, Holyfield. You know what I'm talking about?
We don't trip on the color of skin. We know it's a big issue. And it's basically the subjects they always say don't discuss at Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah. That's what we're talking about.
That's what we want to talk about.
We're going to talk about it openly. There's no subject that's off limits, you know. And it's just so cool how things can be transformative when you have someone that you trust in your life. Like, for example, you know, when I got with you, I kind of shared how, you know, every morning I wake up and my first thought, automatic thought, fuck, I don't want to deal with the day. I don't want to get out from under these covers. I don't want to face it. And you taught me, well, okay, I know that we can do thought stopping and thought switching. So that first conscious thought can be, thank you, God, this is the day you have made. I'm going to be glad. I'm going to rejoice in it. And then what I can do is start thinking, you know what? Thank God that I have my eyesight. Thank God my kids are okay. The simple things, but the great things, and get that attitude of gratitude flowing. And then I can start thinking about what I really want my life to be and visualize it with faith, confidence, and enthusiasm, because it's all about what you believe. In the good book, or Law of Attraction, or Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind, it's written in a lot of different ways, but we want to teach you how to utilize your mind, because we have so much more power than most of us originally thought. And it's in Scripture. A lot of times people don't want to take it in that terminology, or they can't understand it. So we're going to break it down into street language. So it'll be a tool that you can start becoming the master of your own thought process, belief system, conduct, emotional experience, and really deliberately create the destiny that you want for yourself. And that's one of the goals that I have, you know?
Beautiful, beautiful. Listen, Dr. Richie, for our little first segment here, our little first episode, I'd like us to just maybe leave a few tips, a little get their taste buds going about something we might be talking about, whatever it might be that you got on your heart, but fire up something and leave them something good.
Oh, man. There's so much stuff, bro. There's a lot of violence in the world today, and, I wouldn't want to be one to say I wouldn't resort to it. It's kind of like Malcolm X's philosophy that I will not be violent with anyone who is nonviolent with me, but I will not be nonviolent with anyone who is violent with me. So I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to protect my loved ones. I'm going to protect my family. Jesus said the greatest thing we could do is lay our life down for a friend. But I don't fuck with anybody. I don't get in anybody's way because I don't want anybody getting in my way. And I know there's a lot of bullying and there's people fucking with other people, man. And my whole thing is, why can't we just be kind, have a heart, realize everybody's going through the same thing. We're just a room full of mirrors, and just be kind to one another. Hurt people. So if we start being kind to others, if that's our problem, we're going to start feeling better about ourselves, and we're going to make the world a better place. We can keep it neutral, we can make it worse, or we can make it better. I submit that you at least keep it neutral, but I think we can push ourselves and try to make this world a better place, bro. Make it better for us and those around us.
Beautiful. Appreciate that. Let me just say this. You might be seeing this finger right here. That's not the middle finger. This is this finger right here. And that's my little insignia, because I always tell people, go to heaven. I used to tell people to go some other place, but now I tell them, go to heaven. I tell people, stay high on Jesus. And they go, why do you use that term, stay high on Jesus? Because I come from addiction background where I was always looking to get high. And I'm getting high on heroin, getting high on meth, getting high on cocaine. If I was a golfer, I would be telling people, hey, get a hole-in-one.
Yep.
Or a baseball player, hey, get a home run.
That's right.
But like I said, as an addict, it's all about getting high. So I tell people, go to heaven. Get high on Jesus, and then stay high in Jesus. I want to be able to help teach you what I've learned. If it wasn't happening in my life, I wouldn't be dishing it out to you. But I've been cooking up something in the kitchen day after day. It's a routine. It's a habit now, because we're creatures of habit. And I've learned our mindset makes our mood set, and our mood set makes our message for the day. So when I wake up in the morning, I used to pull GTAs, Grand Theft Autos. I've never played that game, Grand Theft Auto, but I know they got a game like that. Yeah. Now I pull a GTA every morning, grateful, thankful, and appreciative. So I've changed my mindset. A good routine starts off that day. I get up in the morning, get the fog out of there, like I says, and then I get motivated, moving forward. I know a lot of people live in the valley of indecision. Mm-hmm. Indecision is still a decision. Yes. It's the worst decision. That's where people are singing that song in their head. Should I stay or should I go? If I stay, will be trouble. If I go, will be double. The valley of indecision. Maybe you need to make a decision today that you're going to move forward. Make a right choice to do the right thing in your life. I'm telling you, it's hard work. It's all uphill. It's against the grain. But it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside. I'm telling you can draw power from Almighty God through Jesus Christ, on the inside. It'll change your whole life. And then once you get your little groove going in life, like I said, you start being able to help others, and you'll find out that helping others helps yourself. You find out that giving, you start to receive. So we're going to be teaching, we're going to be sharing our lives and all that kind of stuff. Any final thoughts, Dr. Richie?
Well, we have a very high dollar studio, which is cool because we'll have doors shut and cats and dogs coming in, and that's the way we want to have it because that's the way that we are. And they say when the pain of staying the same is greater than the fear of change. So what's keeping us stuck from making that move to do something we want to do? It's fear. And so what can we replace fear with? Faith. What is that faith going to be in? You're going to name it, but for Chief is Jesus Christ. For me is Jesus Christ. I'm new at it. I respect his strong faith, and I'm kind of trying to get it. So if you're a doubter out there, or you're not sure, you're on the fence, or you believe but you backslid, those are things we can talk about and help you get back on track, man, because the deceiver, he wants to steal, kill, and rob. He wants us to condemn ourselves and beat ourselves up. Fuck that. Chale. It's about staying positive. Yesterday's gone. It's about today. What can we do today? And that's what we're going to be about, man, helping people rebuild, reinvent themselves, and have a better tomorrow,
Yeah, I found out from the good book that to those who have been forgiven much, they love much. I'm full of love because I've been forgiven so much, done so many dirty, dastardly deeds that I'm ashamed of. But, God forgave me for all that stuff. And the cool part of it is now I get to dish out love to everybody. The greatest gift is love. Dr. Richie and myself, we're doing this program. We're spending this time so we can reach out to the masses worldwide, from China to India, everywhere in the whole wide. We're going to try to bring guests, friends, people come in who have something good. But if they're not living the life, we don't want to have them come in. We want to have the real deal. We want to have real people, real lives, real heartaches, real heartbreaks. We're going to have some of the best music. We're going to have the best everything because we love you.
And if you're going to helicopter in, we're going to get that film on the way in and the way out in the helicopter when you're pissed off and cussing and all that, because we want to keep it real. People show up at church and they're on their best behavior, but that car ride there and the car ride back, that's what it's really about. And that's what we want to show here. So we're not having any fancy backdrops. Yeah, we do support the Rolling Stones, that's for sure. But, you know, it's all about keeping it real, and it's all about having you accept who you are and determining who you want to be and being the best self you can. And we know you can do it. We want to support it. I'm just so excited about this, bro. And just thank you for doing this, man.
Hey, we may appear to be unorthodox to some people. Hello. But I believe those stinky fishermen that Jesus called out. Let me tell you, those guys were characters, man. I mean, look at Peter. He'd been hanging out with Jesus for 3 years. He was still carrying a shank and using it, like I says, you know. I bet he smoked, cussed, drank, all that kind of stuff. But you know what? God changes things in our life, but it takes a long time. It takes a while. I know all the biggest, fanciest preachers, religious people all over the world. I know them in the back room. They're just like you and I. They all fall short. The good book tells us we all fall short. There's none of us righteous, you know. All of us mess up and all that stuff. But the cool part of it is we got a God that loves us so very much, and he loves you right where you're at. So keep tuning in. Hey, send us some emails.
Yep.
Send us some texts, all that kind of good stuff. We'll put all our info up. We love you.
Thank you very much, you guys. We'll see you soon.